Here we are with the midweek edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. This is for Wednesday, the 25th day of July, 2018. Today, the sky looked a little threatening at times, but it didn't do much more than sprinkle or just some brief showers here and there. Overall, it turned out to be a very nice evening, as expected. We'll talk about those dew points dropping in just a second. First, want to review the rainfall across parts of the eastern U.S. over the last week. Just incredible amounts of rain with this long tropical fetch coming in off the Atlantic from the Outer Banks of North Carolina right up through D.C., Baltimore, Hagerstown, and then into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the Susquehanna River Valley in east central and central parts of PA has gotten just slammed with heavy rain. State College, Pennsylvania, over near Penn State University, they've had their wettest July on record. This is just the last 7 days worth of precipitation compared to average. Some places have had 8 inches or more worth of rain, more than average, I should say, in that week span. Now, when we look back over the last month, you only have to travel 2.5-3 hours to the east to find these much higher totals, really east of the Appalachian Front. Once you're over into Altoona, Johnstown, State College, Williamsport, over into, again, Allentown and Harrisburg and Hagerstown, all those places have had just tons and tons of rain in July. And then once you get west of the Allegheny Front on Interstate 80 or down along the PA Turnpike, it gets much drier. We've had some rain lately, of course, but July is going to go into the record books as overall a pretty dry month for us. And really, July sticks out like a sore thumb so far this year. Now, of course, these are the numbers at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna. Every month prior to this one has been wetter than average. But we're still running a deficit of over 2 inches at the airport, despite some of the rain that we've had over the last couple of days. It hasn't added up to a whole lot at the airport. Some other places across our TV viewing area have gotten much more than at the airport. So where the official Youngstown area records are kept, July is, again, quite a bit different than the rest of the year. We're still running a pretty big surplus, though, for the year, thanks to all that wet weather we had earlier on. It's a good thing we had a pretty wet spring and early summer, or else we'd probably be officially in a moderate drought at this point. Well, the radar is nice and quiet this evening. The sky continues to clear. The dew points are coming down. It's very nice outside this evening. What a surprise. It's still raining out in the east. From eastern PA and New Jersey and New York City back through D.C., and then down into parts of Virginia and North Carolina, it is still raining this evening, and that's where the really humid air is. Our dew point as of 7:16 has dropped into the lower 60s. There's some 50s dew points not far to our north and west. We were in that really soupy air for a lot of the day today, but then our cold front rolled through, and although it wasn't much of a temperature change behind the front, here was our frontal passage right here. And we've seen dew points drop out of the upper 60s and into the lower 60s, and this will make for a much more pleasant night tonight. Not exactly crisp and cool and fall-like, but we will take it. All right, with a nice clear sky this evening, another great opportunity to check out Mars, which is very near what we call opposition. That's an astronomical term when the Earth is between the sun and some other body. Right now, Mars is very close to opposition, so we're right in between the sun and Mars. That makes the sun, or I should say the planet Mars, very bright. It's been getting brighter over the last month, and even though we're technically at opposition in a couple of days, it's just about almost as bright as it's going to get. And this is the closest approach between Earth and Mars, and the brightest Mars has been in 15 years. All right, so Mars will rise this evening in the 9 o'clock hour. The nearly full moon, it'll be full in a couple of days, will be joined by Saturn to the right of the moon, and then look down to the left, and there you'll see that reddish-orange Mars shining brightly in the southeast sky later on this evening. All right, I think tomorrow's a winner. It's going to be a warm day. We'll start with sun. Clouds will increase in the afternoon. We've got a cold front heading our way. Not much of a temperature change behind this front, although there is one. It's more of another dew point boundary and a wind shift boundary. At this time of the year, our cold fronts don't tend to have big temperature changes on either side, but it's more of a dew point shift and a wind shift. Anyway, as we head towards evening tomorrow, there'll be some thunderstorms off to our west. I think these are most likely to impact us as we get closer to sunset tomorrow evening, maybe as early as 6-7 o'clock. If some of the faster models are to be believed, maybe around dinner time when some of these start impacting us, but if I were a betting man at this point, I'd say it's more likely closer to sunset tomorrow evening. There is a risk for severe weather tomorrow, even though it's pretty low risk. Across the lower Great Lakes, the Storm Prediction Center has parts of the region in the low risk, meaning that anything would be limited in coverage and intensity, but we are included in this. Again, the timing on this more towards evening. You'll be just fine for your outdoor plans in the morning and the afternoon. Now, in the wake of the front, Friday's a somewhat cooler day. The dew points come down again. Very nice day, very comfortable. Good day to open up the windows. I think we'll be in the 70s all day on Friday. and with kind of a threatening sky from time to time, a little more of a fall-like look to the sky, I think, on Friday. And out of that, there might be a spritz or a sprinkle, maybe a shower in a couple of spots. That should be about it. So going to the weekend, high pressure builds in. There'll still be a flow coming off the lake, so it's not going to be perfectly sunny over the weekend. But we will have at least a partly sunny sky at times, mostly sunny for both days this weekend. The weather pattern getting set to kind of repeat itself a little bit as we head into next week. Here's our dry air mass pivoting through over the weekend. And then the atmosphere will kind of reload and become fairly moist again in the east next week. And boy, this looks like this week. Look at all this high moisture content from Florida right up into eastern New England. We won't be in that really humid air, but we'll be a little more humid, and there'll probably be a few chances for showers and storms during the first half of next week as we wrap up July. So the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center here shows a good chance of above average precipitation along the spine of the Appalachians during that period, and a somewhat lower chance, but still a chance, of above average precipitation for us. Again, in the 6 to 10 day outlook as we get set to turn the calendar over into August. All right, I promised I would show you the latest European long-range modeling. I showed you a night or two ago the climate forecast system outlook for August. It showed kind of a cool signal for August. Well, what about the latest run of the European? Here's our cool air compared to average for next week. Now, I do think August will feature a warming trend. Do I see 90? Probably not, although it might be pretty warm for a handful of days early in August. This is the period ending Friday the 10th, so that period, that kind of 7-day period from the 3rd to the 10th, that looks pretty warm. Beyond that, the European suggests that we don't seem likely to return to a hot pattern. It'll be maybe an average pattern, maybe a little above average for a time during mid-August. Some cool anomalies still shown in the southeast and the plain states. And then at the end of the month, kind of a cool signal there. So when we add all this up, here's the next 32 days. Definitely a cool signal in the plain states. We're right on the edge of that cool signal here. And again, this is an average over the next 32. Surely, just because there's a lot of blue here doesn't mean it's going to be cool every day. That is for sure. So that's the latest European. Compared to that to the latest run of the CFS, Climate Forecast System. This looks warmer than the run I showed you a night or two ago. Pretty good, cool signal still, much like the European out here, but a little more of a warm signal for the lower Great Lakes and Ohio Valley for the next 32 days. This is something I showed you last week. This is the Climate Prediction Center's August outlook put out on the 19th, so almost a week ago, showing decent chances for a warmer than average month. So, we've got some conflicting signals out there. This initial forecast, I suspect, will be altered some as we get a little bit closer to the start of the month, and I'll be doing an official August forecast myself as we get into next week, my opinion on what will happen in August. Showed you some modeling information there, showed you the government forecast, and we'll do our official August outlook for the final month of meteorological summer, believe it or not, coming up early on next week. That's it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a great Wednesday night, everyone.